Hello everyone, Melodic Ted is back. Rocking the Opeth t-shirt. Face of Melinda, it's reversed so you can't really tell. Yeah, I always do my videos mirrored. As a matter of fact, my microwave's not actually on that side, it's supposed to be on that side. Who cares? Anyway, what way to start off return to my reviewing career with a fucking awesome 2014 album. So far album of the year, but I've only listened to a few. And it is the album Shogunate Macabre by Whispered. Now, I'm going to go into some background information for those of you who aren't aware of the band. Whispered are a band from Finland, and they can best be described as, and I'll admit, I did take this from a Metal Archives review title, Japansiphorum, like Japan in a Siphorum, or one that I made up, Japanterson, which I kind of like a lot better, personally. So, they really are essentially melodic death metal. In some cases, particularly they employ more power metal elements as well, and they add Eastern influences, particularly with Japan. So all I can say about this album is it's great, it's terrific, it's fantastic. Now, this particular album, in comparison to the previous one, is far more heavy-hitting and technical, mostly noticing, of course, in the guitars and the drums, and you can notice this in tracks like Jinkiniki and Kappa in particular. Now, the previous album was a bit more tame and less chaotic, and simply put, Thousand Swords was an album about beauty. It was an album where two men were fighting for honor, maybe for a woman, maybe for a woman's honor, with 1,000 swords. And that's not to say this album is not beautiful, because it plenty is. This album is more like an intense, gruesome fight between a bunch of different people, between men who are employed in the Shogunate and men who were employed in the Shogunate who died in battle, believing that they had achieved honor through death, only to realize that they were fucked. They were screwed over. They didn't die honorably. They died for a bullshit cause, and as such have risen from the dead in a form of decayed zombie-like ghosts and have come to attack the Shogunate. And I didn't steal this, I'm pretty sure. I glanced through the lyrics, listened to the music and the chaos, and that's just what I thought of. Now, like I said, this album is more technical, and one of the main reasons for that is they removed a lot of the power metal elements almost entirely, and the main reason for that is they have almost literally abandoned all keyboard influence. Now, this album, of course, does contain its Oriental influence, more so even than the last one, arguably, or I should say they're more obvious. You had them before, but now, particularly tracks like Jinkiniki and Upon My Honor, the beginning of those especially, you can tell they're Japanese influenced. If you couldn't tell before, you can definitely tell now. Now, the reason why I'm assuming the keyboards were virtually non-existent is because of the departure of, and I wrote it down in case I couldn't pronounce it right, Mika Karjalainens. I'm terrible at Finnish names. My apologies. He departed, and as such, there are no keyboards. I find this to be a problem. I particularly liked the debut a little bit more than this album. That's just me. And one of the main reasons for that was the keyboards. The keyboards were great and all over the place, especially tracks in the previous album like Wrath of Heaven. Those are gone. And that means that the melody is entirely relied upon by the guitar, which is not a problem at all. As opposed to the previous album where they would weave in and out between guitars and synths, now it's weaving out between rhythm and lead melodies. So, to an extent, in my opinion, that detracts from the diversity of their music and makes them slightly less unique. But it doesn't matter because this band is fairly fucking unique as it is, so even without the keyboards, this album is still well worthy of my praise in a review. And one particular track that I enjoy would be, as my favorite, Lady of the Wind, which of course was released along with Jinkiniki. Lady of the Wind is very unique because it's a bit more straightforward, a bit more tame, reminding me very much of the previous album, as a matter of fact. And I love the chaotic elements on this album, but I'm particularly more a fan of the more tame songs like Lady of the Wind. And the bombastic chorus vocals with the, I don't know quite how to explain it, but the almost, not quite operatic, but choral-like, if that makes any sense. Those are used quite frequently in this album, and especially in Lady of the Wind, and they do very well to give that sense of Japanese honor. It's very strange. I particularly think of that whenever I hear that moment. It makes me think of a man who's trying to protect his honor with a sword. and as such is one of my favorite tracks off the album. Actually, I'd say it is my favorite track off the album, and a few others come close. Another track that I particularly enjoy are tracks like Jinkiniki and Kappa, which I said before are some of the more chaotic and more technical ones. Kappa just being fucking batshit crazy. Oh my god, the verse lines are just... You can tell they were going on some crazy shit. Upon listening to that track, all you can think of is beauty's out of the window. This is all about murder and gruesome fighting between, like I said before, men from the Shogunate and men formerly of the Shogunate, going to this big bloody battle. Now, obviously, this album is about honor. They have a track called Upon My Honor, but it feels like it's less honorific than the last album. That's just the way I feel about it. Now, another thing that I particularly enjoy about the album is the drum work. The drum work is just as, if not better, than the previous album, I won't lie. And the main reason for that is the heavy-hitting technicality of it. And my favorite drum line is honestly probably in Jinkiniki, just before the verse line starts, and fuck yes, it's good. Now, the vocals I would say are on par, if not have improved over the last release. And one particular track in particular that I find has the best harsh vocals would be Jinkiniki and Fallen Amaterasu, personally. Now, Fallen Amaterasu is another song I particularly enjoy. One of the main reasons is because of the title. It's so awesome, Amaterasu. And I don't remember exactly what it's supposed to mean in Japanese, but there's the character Amaterasu from the game Okami. And, of course, Amaterasu is a move used by Itachi Uchiha in Naruto. So the Japanese fanboy in me just ate up that song immediately. And all I can really say about this album is it's great. It's not as good as the debut, but technically speaking, it is a step forward in a sign of maturity. You can tell that they're developing their style, that they're sort of coming together closer as a band throughout this release and have become more tight, so to speak. One advantage I can say over this album, over the previous album, is that the instruments weave together better as far as the synergy. Not that I'm saying it wasn't, you know, what's the word? Synergetic. I don't know if that's even a word. Before, it felt more like maybe sometimes the guitar, sometimes the keys were putting themselves out more than some of the other instruments, but that's not to say that they didn't band together well. In this album, it feels like they're paying more attention to each other as they create their own sound. The drummer is paying more attention to the guitars paying more attention to the vocals, so on and so forth. It feels like the synergy level is actually greater in this album than the previous album, which is a step up. I will definitely give them that. So all in all, I gotta say, get this album. If you're a fan of Winter Sun and Sephiroth, or any melodic death metal with Eastern influences, I can't really name that many, you're going to dig this. And even if you're not particularly a fan of Oriental sounding music, you're still going to eat this shit right up. If you're a fan of melodic death metal, there's no reason not to get it. If you want something heavier, more hitting, more technical, more chaotic, then you're definitely going to want this album over Thousand Swords. But if you want something more tame, while at the same time chaotic, a little more blissful, more beautiful, with a lot more keyboard or power metal influence, then you're going to want to listen to Thousand Swords. So all in all, what can I rate this? A 9.5 out of 10. And I've listened to this album front to back about 3 or 4 times. Lady of the Wind and Jinkiniki I've heard like 10 times a piece because they came out earlier. And I don't like it as much as Thousand Swords, which I give a perfect 10, by the way. But it's pretty damn close, and I think most of you are going to enjoy this album more, so definitely check it out. I will leave a link down below to Whisper's Facebook page. That's it. Go ahead and get the CD, get the t-shirt if you can. I don't know about the CD, but I'm definitely going to get the Whisper t-shirt very soon, hopefully. So, you heard it from me, Melodeath Ted, recommending some awesome Melodeath. Get it now, enjoy it, 9.5 out of 10, and I will catch you guys later. Enjoy.